Hello guys, in this tutorial we're going to be making a simple weather app that's going to look something like this. So here, if we search for something that doesn't exist, we're going to get an error message. And then we can search for either a city or a country. We're going to get city here, country, region, time, temperature, and the weather. So this is the thing we're going to be building, and the things I'm going to be using for this is emotion for styles. Link is going to be in the description if you guys want to follow along. And that's all we're going to be needing to install. And the other thing is weatherstack.com is where we're going to get our weather API. So here you only need to sign up for free. And then once you sign up, it's going to say start using the API. Click that. You can click show options here, dashboard, and your API key is going to be here. So let's start building this. I already installed Emotion, but if you guys want to install it, it's just this line, npm I at emotion core. And then the other thing I'm going to be using is my extension for snippets. If you guys want to use that, it's not needed, but I'm just going to be using it to speed up the process of making states, functions, components, whatever it might be, just to get our template. And then here I only added a font, which is going to be linked in the description. Nothing else is changed here. Just the title is weather app, and then the font, which I'll link along with all the other links we're gonna need. After that, go to app CSS. We're just gonna add a few basic styles for all the elements. And I also want to add a font, so let me grab that. And we're gonna have a few styles for our app. So here you can see the font we're using, and you can also see our app here. So I also added the image folder inside the source with 4 pictures I'm going to be using. That's also going to be linked in the description. So inside the source I only have the image folder, and I'm going to make another folder that's going to be components. So we can close the app CSS, we're not going to be needing anything more there. And then this is the app. I just added H1 here just so you guys can see it on the page. We still don't have anything inside the app. So inside components, the first component we want to make is going to be container that we're going to be using throughout the page. And if you're using snippets, you can just type emo if you're using emotion to get the full functional component snippet for that along with emotion. If you're not, you can just use ES6. Lowercase, which is going to give you an arrow function. So I'll be using that just to speed up the process, as I said, but you guys can type it out or use some other snippets for that. I'm going to remove everything from here because we're going to have a single div. And we want to pass children here so we can nest elements inside our container. This thing, CSS equals styles, is you're only going to apply that if you're using emotion for styling, otherwise you won't be needing this. And we're also going to have a single media query here. So our container is completely done now. So we can import that inside our app. We're going to be using it here. So remove the H1 and just add the container. Now that's going to be centered on the page. So now the first actual thing we're gonna make, or component, is gonna be our card, or weather card. And inside of that, we're only gonna have a single div here. Let me move this back. And then this div here is just gonna have a class name of card. And I'm just gonna add few styles, because here inside of this card we're gonna import both things we're gonna need, so background on the left and output on the right. So once we make that, we're gonna import both of these inside our card, but for now let's just style the card. And then we're gonna have a single media query. So the next thing we're going to be making is weather background, so that's going to be another component. And this is just going to have a picture that's going to be here on the left. So we can remove this again, since we're going to be needing a single div. And I'm going to import my image. And I'll link all the pictures in the description so you guys can get them. And here we want to add that background we just imported, which is weather image. And after that, we're going to add 3 media queries just to make the picture smaller in size. So that's our first media query, so we can copy that. I'll just make some space so you guys can see. So I'm going to copy that, paste it again, and this is going to be min width instead of max width. It's going to be 721, and then here we can add end, and we're going to have max width here. Then 40 pixels, and then min height is going to be 380. And then lastly, we want to have another media query. And this is just going to include a max width. So that's our whole weather background. Actually, that's completely done. So we can import that inside our weather card now so we can see it. So here inside the card, and then we need to import our weather card that we made. I forgot to import that inside our app. And then here inside our container, we can just render that weather card. So now we can see what we have. So just the image here. And then we're gonna make another component. So if we go back here, our weather background is done. We can close that. So we're gonna make a component which is gonna be called weather info. And then here, what we want to do first, I want to import the container, and I also want to import the pictures I have. So the first thing here, I want to add a class name. And I also want to add CSS styles. And then the first thing inside of that, I want to render the container. So right now, here is going to be all the data from the API we're getting. We're not calling it yet, but right now we're not going to have anything else inside of this. I also want to add a style, so we don't need to mess with that later on, because this component is going to have a lot of styles here, so I want to add that right now. Don't mind about the stuff that's not there yet, it's going to get there eventually. I just want to finish adding the styles first. Or actually, let's just add those styles for now, and then we're gonna add other styles later once we have some data. And I also want to make another component that's gonna be search, or our input that's gonna be here. And our search, instead of div, is gonna have a form. And inside of that form, we're going to have a single input. And let's just add a placeholder for now. And then on our form, I want to add some styles. And then also for placeholder, we're gonna have the same exact color, so you can just copy and paste this line. So that's gonna be our search, completely done. And then inside the container here, so if we go back to weather info, we want to import search here in the top. And I'm just gonna render it here, so inside the container. Also, what did I forget? So our weather card right now has weather background, and the other thing is this component we just made, which is weather info. And we're gonna render it under the weather background. Now you can see that part along with the input. And also the other thing we can add in search, if you want this input to be focused, you can add autofocus here, I'm pretty sure. It's only gonna work when the page loads. So that's done, and then since we don't have anything inside our weather info, we can't add the data that we didn't get. So the first thing, let's go to app. We're gonna keep all of our states here. So we're gonna import use state first. So right here we're gonna have few states. The first thing I wanna get before the states is go to this website and get our API key. And then if we go here, I wanna make a variable that's gonna be called API key. And it's just gonna be a string of those numbers. And I'll also make a state where we're gonna store our data. So weather data and set weather data, and we're gonna set that to null at beginning. Then we're gonna have a state for our input, so we can search for things. We can just call that search and set search. And we're gonna set that to an empty string. And the last state we're gonna need is gonna be for displaying errors. So error and set error, and we're gonna set that to an empty string as well. So right now what we need is a function which we're gonna call once we submit the form. So I'll just call it getData. And we're gonna pass E here. And then the first thing we wanna do is prevent the default. So here we're gonna be calling the API and everything, but before we do that, we wanna pass our values to our search. So we're gonna need the search and set search state for the input, and we're gonna need getData function. So if we go to search, that's imported inside our weather info. So we need to send it to the weather card, then to the weather info, then to the search. So we're gonna get search, send that to weather card, so search. Then the next one is set search. And the last one is getData. And then we can copy everything from here. So we need to send that to weather card, and inside the weather card, we need to send it to our weather info. So we can just paste it here. And then here we can destructure these values. So we're gonna have search, set search and get data. So we're sending that to weather info now, and then inside our weather info we can send it to search, and we need to destructure it again here. Because our search is nested inside weather info is nested inside the card, and card is inside the app, and we have all our states in app. So we need to send them to the weather card first, then to the weather info, and then finally to our search. So now here we can destructure it again to get these. So the first thing we're gonna have is value on the inputs, and that's gonna be equal to this state we made, which is search. Then we're gonna have onChange event, where we can use our function to update our state, which is set search, and we want to set it to whatever we type in on it, or in our case it's going to be e.target.value. And lastly, we want to add an onSubmit event to the form. So this is the function, which is get data, that we just made here. Only has a prevent default right now, nothing else, as you can see. It's not reloading the page. So here we're going to be calling our API now to get the data. So we're going to be using fetch. So we can do fetch here. And you want to make these template literals, because we're going to be adding some stuff like our API key and search. So I'm gonna get the, let me see. So this is what we're gonna be needing. I'll put that in description as well. And then after current, we're gonna add a question mark, access key. Equals, and then here we're gonna put our key, which is gonna be API key, the variable we made. And then after curly braces, we wanna add and query equals, and then here we're gonna put our search. So search is our input state, and we're updating it when that changes, which we have onChange event. So search is going to be whatever user types in our case here. That's why we have query equals to search. And then after fetch here, so under this line, we're going to add then. Then we're going to have a response, and we're going to set that to response.json. Then under that, we're going to have another .then. Then we're going to pass data. So once we get the data here, we can decide what we want to do with it. So for this particular example, we can check for data.error. So that's the error code we get. So we can check if data.error exists, because only when the error exists it's going to show. So we can output our error message based on that, or get the data. So here, if data.error, we're gonna set error, which is the state we made for errors here, and we want to set it to a string that's gonna say something, whatever it might be. Just put something random. And then under that we're gonna so under this line set error, we're just going to have a return. And then here we want to have an else. And inside of else, so if there is no errors, here we want to set our state, which is set weather data, to that data we got. So this. So now we're gonna have our data stored inside of state inside our state that's called weather data, because we're setting it here. And then after line 25, the last thing we want to do is clear the input once we submit the form. So that's called set search, and we can just set that to an empty string here. That's gonna clear our input. So that's everything we're gonna need. So now we need to send our states where we're gonna be using them. So we send search, set search, and get data. So the other two things we need is the weather data. So we wanna send that. And we also wanna send our error. So there's nothing else in app, we're already calling it once we submit the form. Now the only thing that's left is to output the data and the error message. So now we can go to our weather card, and we need to send these states to weather info so we can use it inside of this. So the thing we need here, let me see, we need our weather data, so we can restructure it here. And we also need to get our error. And then here we want to send that weather data and the error. So first we want to send weather data, and after that we want to send the second state, which is error. Then I'm going to copy these two. So we're not going to be needing anything inside the weather card anymore. We can close that, and then inside our weather info we don't want to destructure those two we just copied, so we can have access to that there. And now we wanna show them. So under our search, what we wanna do first is check for weather data. So if weather data is not equal to null, so if that's true, here, we want to render some components, and then we're going to have else, where we want to render something different. So let's just move this to another line, like that. And then here we're going to have else. And inside our else, let's just put an h1 here for now. Just trying to format it properly. But anyway, so inside our else, we're gonna have a paragraph that is gonna have a class name of error. And the only thing we want to display inside of this paragraph is this error state we made, because here we're setting error to this message. So in our case, we only want to display it here. So inside of this paragraph, we just want to display that. And then here, instead of h1, we're going to add multiple things. So let's see, we're going to add a div with a class of row. So maybe, let me see how many, like 5 times, I'm pretty sure. So let's add 5 rows, but since they're going to be separated, we're going to need to add like a React fragment. And then I'll need to import React here. And then inside of React fragment, I'm going to have a row. So div with a class name of row times 5. Then in our first row, we're going to have a paragraph and a span, so p plus span. Our paragraph is just going to say city. And then inside our span, we want to display that city, and we already have our weather data that we're getting from this API, and we're setting the state to that. So here, inside our span, we want to set to that weather data dot location dot country. Then inside the next row, we want to display the country. So we're going to have p plus spam again. So here we're going to have weather data dot location, and it's also going to be, let me see. This is going to be dot country. So that's my bad. The first one is not going to be dot country. So for the city, it's going to be dot name, and then this is going to be dot country. Then for the third row, we can just copy paste this paragraph and span. Here we're going to have region, and it's going to be weather data dot location dot region. And then lastly, let me see here, we want to have time, so we can copy this again. And this is going to be weather data dot location dot local time. And then lastly here, we're also going to have temperature inside of this last row we have. So we can copy paste again. And this is just going to be temperature. And this is going to be weather data dot location dot temperature. So once that's done, the last thing we need is we're going to add another div under this, so under line 36, and it's going to have two classes. So the first class is going to be weather description, and the second class is going to be row, just so it gets all the styles these have. So here, first thing, we want to have a paragraph. It's gonna say weather. And if you guys remember, we imported images before, so here we're gonna display them. We're gonna have some if statement or ternary operator inside of here, so we know when to display which image. So firstly, we wanna put our span here. So this is gonna have weather data.current. So weather data.current.weather underscore descriptions. And under that, so here, we can add curly braces, and we're gonna check for which weather it is, so we know which picture to display. So we can check for the same thing we just did here on line 39. So it's gonna be weather data.current.weather underscore descriptions. And we're gonna add includes, and then we can have if it includes sunny here. So if that's true, we're gonna render an image here. Which is sun image we imported, and here for all we're just gonna add sun. Like that, and let's move this down so we have some space. So after line 42 here, we can add else, and we can copy this line. And here we're gonna check if it includes rain, lowercase rain. If that's true, we wanna display another image. So we're gonna display a rain image, and here we're just gonna have rain. Just make sure you don't get confused by this, because this sun is capital S and rain is all lowercase. So make sure you have that. So under this image, which is rain, so this else here, we're gonna add another else here, and then we can check for the same exact thing. But in this case, if it includes clear and C is gonna be capital, then if that's true, we're gonna display another image here. Make some space. Like that. And then here last else is just gonna have an empty string. Like that. And then we can move this here. And that's all there. So now the last thing is adding styles for our row here. So if you remember we added styles for the container, then we're gonna target a row that's inside a container.
What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules and imagine a utopia? Darling, I'm just so fed up with these expectations. They weigh me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I wanna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa. And if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head.
And then for the last row, we're just gonna have a margin 0. And then inside each row, as you see, we have paragraph and span. So inside the row, but under this line, under line 77, we want to target our paragraph. And then under the paragraph, we want to target our span. So those are gonna be the styles for a row, and then under the row, we're gonna have another div. So under this row, here up to line 87, we want to target this weather description div that we made here. And then inside of that, we want to target images, which are sun, rain, and what, I don't know what last one was, clear. So these three, we want to target those. And then lastly here, what we want to do under that div, so under the weather description, we want to target this paragraph with a class of error we added here. Like that, and then under the container we're gonna add few media queries. So under the line 103, so 550 pixels. And then if we highlight that, when that ends, so after line 112, we're going to add another media query. And that should be it for our app. So let's see if we search for something that doesn't exist. We got an error message, sorry we couldn't find what you're looking for. Then if we search for something, so our temperature is not working. We got city, country, region, time, and temperature. So let's go back here to see what we did wrong. So it's weather data, .location, .temperature. Oh, that's our issue. So this should be weather data.current .temperature. Let's see if we have this somewhere else. No, we don't. So let's try searching for that again. There it goes, 24. And then we can add, so after this, not inside, after. We can add that. Yeah, now it looks much better. So now we get city, country, region, time, temperature, and the weather. And this app is going to be responsive as well, as you guys can see. So it looks like this on bigger screens, and then on smaller screens it's going to move in a column. And this is how it's going to look on mobile. So that's going to be it for this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.